The letter arrived on a quiet morning.
A fine.
Another violation. Another warning from the HOA. But this time, it wasn't just about a fence. It was about control. Because the woman issuing the fines, Karen Whitmore, believed she owned the neighborhood. What she didn't know was that the man she was targeting owned something far more important than a fence. He owned the road beneath her feet. And by the time she realized it, it was already too late.
It's too risky.
The new beginning. The house sat at the edge of the neighborhood, quiet, almost forgotten. Daniel Hayes didn't choose it because it was perfect. He chose it because it was far enough away from everything that used to be his life. The mornings were calm there.
No noise.
No pressure. Just wind brushing through trees and the distant hum of a road that didn't belong to the city. That mattered more than anyone realized. Daniel wasn't the kind of man people noticed. He moved in quietly.
No housewarming. No introductions.
No need for attention. He fixed things slowly, repaired the porch himself, repainted faded wood, cleared overgrown grass, and eventually he built a fence. Not a tall one, not an aggressive one, just enough to create a boundary between his world and everything else. Puzzle piece: first signs of control. 3 days after the fence was completed, a white envelope appeared in his mailbox.
No stamp.
Hand-delivered. Inside was a printed notice.
Bawelastion. Anounceraist exterior modification.
Immediate action required. At the bottom, a name. Karen Whitmore, HOA president. Performing Arts. Karen's entrance. Karen didn't knock the first time. She simply stood at the edge of his property, arms crossed, studying the fence like it was a personal insult. When Daniel finally stepped outside, she smiled, but it wasn't warm. "You must be new," she said. "We have guidelines here." Her tone wasn't welcoming. It was instructional. Daniel listened. He didn't argue. He didn't explain. He just nodded slightly and said, "I'll take a look at the documents." That was it. And somehow, that calm response annoyed her more than resistance would have. That evening, Daniel stood by the fence quietly. Not worried, not angry, just thinking. Because the fence wasn't the problem. And deep down, he already knew this wouldn't stop here. The second letter came faster than the first. Then the third. Then the fine started. Envelope with arrow, increasing pressure. Each notice felt more aggressive. Final warning. Immediate compliance required. Failure will result in further action. Karen wasn't just enforcing rules anymore. She was escalating. Eyes, neighborhood shift. Neighbors began watching from a distance. Curtains moved slightly when Daniel stepped outside. Conversations lowered when he walked past. No one said anything directly, but everyone knew Karen's reputation. Direct hit. Karen pushes harder. This time she knocked. Firm. Repeated. Daniel opened the door calmly. "You're ignoring official notices," she said sharply. "That fence is not approved." Daniel looked at her for a moment, then replied, "I've read them." That was it. No defense.
No explanation.
Collision power struggle. Karen's tone hardened. "You don't seem to understand how this works. The HOA controls this neighborhood." A pause. Then she added, "Including access roads." That line lingered. Puzzle piece: subtle mystery. Daniel didn't react immediately, but something changed just slightly. Not fear. Not concern. Recognition. Warning: midpoint tension. A formal notice arrived. Failure to comply may result in restricted access and legal review. Now the audience feels it. This isn't about a fence anymore. This is about control. That night, Daniel opened a drawer he hadn't touched since moving in. Inside were old documents, carefully folded, carefully kept. And for the first time, he actually read them again. The hidden truth. The paper had aged slightly, but the lines were still clear. Survey maps, property boundaries, and one detail easily overlooked. Hourglass not done. Flashback layer. Years earlier, when Daniel bought the land, the agent had mentioned it casually. There's a private access road included. Nothing complicated. Daniel hadn't thought much of it at the time, but now, it mattered. Compass: present-day discovery. He walked the edge of his property slowly, looking at markers he hadn't paid attention to before. Small metal stakes,
Faint boundary lines.
The road wasn't where people thought it was. Classical building HOA meeting buildup. Karen announced a neighborhood meeting. Mandatory. Daniel knew what it was about. Performing arts public pressure. The room was filled with quiet tension. Karen stood confidently at the front. We have a compliance issue that affects the integrity of this community. She didn't say his name at first, but everyone knew. High voltage turning point setup. Finally, she did. Mr. Hayes has refused to remove an unauthorized structure. Eyes turned toward him. Daniel sat calmly. No reaction. Brain's strategic silence. Karen expected confrontation. Instead, she got stillness. And that made the room uncomfortable. Daniel placed a folder on the table. Not opening it yet. Just placing it there, like he already knew. The conversation was about to change. The reveal. Karen made her final move. Firecracker, the ultimatum. If the fence is not removed within 7 days, she said firmly, we will proceed with enforcement, including access limitations. The room went quiet. This was it. Direct hit the shift. Daniel finally stood up. Slowly, calmly, and for the first time he spoke more than a sentence. Scroll the truth unfolds. You mentioned access, he said. He opened the folder, laid out the documents carefully. Survey maps, legal descriptions, ownership records. High voltage, the reveal moment. The road you're referring to, he paused briefly, is not controlled by the HOA. Silence. Collision impact. Karen frowned. That's not correct.
Daniel didn't argue.
He simply pointed, line by line, boundary by boundary. Brain realization. The room shifted. People leaned forward. Someone whispered, wait, that means… Checkered flag final blow. It's privately owned, Daniel said quietly. By me. Performing arts emotional payoff. Karen's confidence cracked. Not dramatically. Just enough. Because now, the power wasn't where it used to be, and everyone in the room could feel it. The letters stopped. Quietly.
No announcement. No apology.
Just silence. Sunrise neighborhood shift. Neighbors who once avoided Daniel now nodded when passing by. Some even smiled.
Karen's absence.
Karen no longer walked the street the same way.
No clipboard.
No authority in her step. Just distance. The HOA didn't disappear, but it changed. Limits were clearer now. Daniel's piece. The fence stayed. Exactly where it was. Unmoved. Unchallenged. Daniel stood outside one evening, looking at the road. Quiet.
Still.
Unclaimed by anyone else. Some people believe power comes from rules. Others know it comes from understanding them. And sometimes, the strongest move is simply waiting until the truth reveals itself.